Hello. Hey, Shorties. We are live. Let me see if I can see it in the chat. No. Are we live? Can you hear me? Give me a one. Give me a something. Doesn't look like we're live on my end. Wait. Let me just see. I don't think so. I don't think so. Da, da, da. Yes, you can hear and see me. Thank you, Annie, your beautiful friend. I can't see myself on the screen, which is probably a good thing. Hang on my iPad screen right here. Oh, yeah, there I am. Oh, awkward. It's always something with me, isn't it? So, welcome, Shorties. Thank you for coming along to another edition of Let's Talk. It's been a little while. Hey, Caveman. Hey, everyone. Let me just put my banner up here for y'all. Yes. So, it's been a little while since we did a Let's Talk. It's been, I think, 2 weeks. So, Shorty's schedule is full at the moment, of my own doing mostly. But anyway, can't say no. And this peasant work shit that I have to do to pay the bills until I'm a proper YouTube star, till I'm a really concerted grifter, is tedious to say the least, because your girl has to get up early and do all the work things. So, here we are. I have a beautiful friend and guest. She's she's our newest moderator on Miss Shorty. Hey, Jeno, listening and lurking while working. Thank you, Jen. Yes, I'm changing up my look. I'm going a little bit more profesh because I am a professional. And yeah, I got some new tops. I got this one in black and white. The one that I had yesterday in my 2 lives, also in black and white, and then a bunch. These were quite expensive, well out of my budget, but you know, grifter. And then I got also a bunch from Sheen. Is that how you say it? Shein. So I got like 3 times as many tops for half the price from Sheen as I did from this one, for these ones. But we'll see. They might not look any good on screen, but we'll see. Anyway, enough outfit talk. Amy Boston is backstage. She is a beautiful friend, a beautiful person, and reached out to me probably about a month ago to say she would love to share her story of addiction and her journey into it, through it, and the road out, which is, I think we all kind of understand, it can be a pretty treacherous road and a frustrating one. Sorry, I've got my dog Poppy. Poppy, don't lick my arms. Poppy, don't lick me. I just put moisturizer on my arms and she's licking them, which is delightful. Yes. So, without further ado, if you haven't watched the first 2 addiction episodes, it might be worthwhile because my story is in there. I spoke with Katie Smith on addiction number 1, and then Paul O'Keefe's crotch, aka Tim, in addiction number 2. And tonight, we have beautiful Amy talking about her road through and out of addiction. So, shall we bring her up? Oh, don't forget to maybe share this to your socials, comment after the stream's over. Let's get going.
Hi. Can you
Oh,
hear
well,
me?
hello.
Hi.
Good evening, good afternoon,
It's so
and
good
thank
to
you for
be
being
here.
here. How's things? How's your Saturday going?
Good. And it's been busy. Now we're here with you on
Yeah,
Overdose Awareness Day. It's International Overdose Awareness Day, so how appropriate to have this stream going on.
absolutely. Happenstance. I didn't realize we had scheduled this for next Saturday, but due to, well, supposed inclement weather, like wild weather coming into all of South Australia, I decided to postpone the Free Karen Reid standout till next Sunday instead. So we flipped our days and decided to do this one today, so there was no dead air.
Right, right.
So
I feel
tell
like
me,
you guys have you're in winter right now, right?
uh, spring
Coming up,
starts today.
right? Nice. Nice.
Yes. So it's been, I mean, you're in Boston. So we get a little bit of snow in Australia in the mountainous regions. Where I live in Melbourne, there's frost on the windscreens, like thick frost on the windscreens in the dead of winter, but no snow.
Oh,
And in where Nick, one of the mods, Nick lives in sort of not far North Queensland, but sort of northern Queensland, which is up the north of Australia and on the east coast. They don't ever get any snow. It's much warmer there. I think he's already getting, yeah, they're already getting kind of heat wave conditions up there while I've still got my central heating on. So
right here. Yeah. I can't wait for the central heating to stop. To be quite, or central air right now because it's been so hot in the Boston area. But
yes. So tell us a little bit about maybe why when seeing one of the first two addiction episodes you wanted to you reached out to me. What sort of touched you there, and why did you feel like you wanted to perhaps share your story with me and everyone?
well, there had been a guy's perspective of getting sober, and sometimes it can be very different between a man and a woman getting sober. Um, Women deal with different things than men do often. So I thought having a female, and also I got sober with hope from other people who have gotten out of addiction. And I would sit at meetings and listen to these people talk about how they were in prison and they did all these kind of things and their life completely turned around. And so I myself listened to people how they got out of the hell that they were in and what they did to sustain their life and make it better. So that's why I reached out.
Okay. So yeah, that's an interesting point you make, and I guess I hadn't really thought of that. But the road probably into and through and out of addiction, whatever your, I guess substance addiction is what we're specifically talking about here. Alcohol, drugs, whatever
Yeah.
your poison is, literally for men and women, could well look quite different. So how did you? Are you an addictive personality in general, or what was your road into being addicted?
I'm addicted to everything, like panning. Addicted to everything, and it started like I think like looking back, I think that I always had the addictive personality, like even as a really young kid. Um, and when I started I got into high school, and I worried more about my social life and partying than I did with any type of academics. I had a lot of learning disabilities, so I kind of went, water seeks its own level. So I seeked the people who wanted to party during the day instead of going to classes. And it was like often running as soon as I had the substances in me. I envy the people that can like smoke a cigarette and like put it out and not smoke for another 6. I'm not. I'm all in or I'm all out. I have to be.
I feel you. Same. I'm like all or nothing. Once I'm done with something, I'm done. But when I'm doing, I'm doing.
Yeah, same. It's like you go to a party and people start leaving it too, and I'm not that person. Once I have substances inside me, I want to keep going until the wheels fall off, and that's exactly how it went for me, and it got me into really dark places, and feeling really crappy about myself, like really young. The first meeting I went to, I think I was like 19. It was a young people's meeting,
Yeah,
and
wow.
yeah, and that because I was getting into bars and clubs really young, and so what people started doing at like say 21, I was doing it at 16. And I come from a really good family. I'm the youngest of like 5 kids. My mom is amazing. Um, I do come from an alcoholic family where it's genetically on both sides, so kind of a crapshoot whether you get the addiction gene or not. And I did. And I have, you know, addiction is really easy to fall into. And it's fun for a while until it's not fun. And it's really hard to get out of. And so, yeah, I at 15, like I said, I was doing drugs and I was drinking and I was doing all of these things. And I thought like all kids did it. Like that was just kind of like a rite of passage to be a teenager. But then it got to the point where like everyone was like going off to college and like doing like adulting. And I felt like I didn't get the roadmap to know how to adult, you know? Um, I kept going in the direction of partying, and then I was doing stuff alone and I was hiding it, and I couldn't, like, I don't function well when I have substances in my body. Like, the only thing I go for is the substance, it's the focus. And so, I've lived like 19 different places since I was 17.
How old are
And
you now?
I'll be 40.
You look
Um,
amazing, girl. Look at
Thanks.
you.
It's retinol. um, yeah, and so it's and actually the place that I am now is probably like the longest I've ever been somewhere. Like my property manager isn't trying to like hunt me down for money because I'm using it on substances, drugs, like. And I was like that type of person that people like, oh, I wonder what this does, and I'm like, I'll tell you, and like pop 10 of them. And I want to say that like it is a personality defect. Like I did learn that when I got into the halls of Alcoholics Anonymous. I know a lot of people don't agree with necessarily Alcoholics Anonymous, but that's the only thing that helped me when I took it seriously because my life was a mess.
So you said you went to your first to like a youth AA meeting when you were 19.
Yes.
Was that a personal choice? Did your parents support you or encourage you? How did that look for you?
So yeah, my mother didn't want her daughter in the house all messed up with a friend, and I felt bad. Like I was living with her. It's kind of why I moved out when I was 17 because it was really hard looking at my mother watching her daughter fail, and you have no control over it really, but it does affect everyone around you. So I was like, maybe if I go here and there's young kids, and I did walk into a young people's meeting. It was a Cocaine Anonymous meeting. Sorry if this is like, are you?
No. We say everything. Say
Okay,
everything.
cool. So I went to a Cocaine Anonymous meeting, and there was a ton of young kids, and they were sober, and I got into it. It's kind of like in and out, in and out. I was still going out and getting high, and I was doing all that kind of stuff. And
So you were still in active addiction. You were hoping to use that as a stepping stone or a lifeline. It was something that you.
yeah,
So that would be tough because you would have still felt like an outsider amongst a bunch of sober young people. So you still weren't really. Was that tough?
it was because you know what too. I think that like I was doing drugs and alcohol because there's this like I'm a really outgoing person. Like I'm really extroverted. I love people. Like hey, hug. But like on the inside, socially, I have crippling social anxieties.
I
Crippling.
know. Same. Isn't that tough being an extroverted introvert? Like having the ability to mask and to switch on. Like I'm a fucking delight. Yeah. Like I can be everything to everyone. And then when I'm in my car or at home, I'm like, oh, it's taken me till I'm almost 50 to not like actively like loathe myself for
Yeah.
just being me. I don't know. I guess it is being me, but I'm always seen as being a complete extrovert when actually inside I'm dying. Not
Same.
now.
Like I'm
Yeah.
the most extroverted introvert that you'd ever meet, except for clearly you too, Miss Shorty. So it's one of those things. And I think that like when I started doing drugs too, it kind of calmed that down. And so I associated like having a good time with putting substances in my body so I wasn't like a weirdo inside. Because that's how like, like I was screaming inside because I the whole yeah, and so I think I used it as a crutch a lot of the time. And then eventually, like, you have no control over like someone said to me actually, like they had never smoked a cigarette or done a drug, so they said, and I didn't understand it. And I said, give someone your phone for 24 hours and tell them not to give it back to you.
Mm. Addiction
And
comes in all forms.
in all
Absolutely.
forms. And so that there would be that same like feeling. And that's what it feels like, and I think I used it
Like
yeah, like, and that's yeah, and
you gotta have something, Amy. You've got to have something. I
yeah,
can't be raw dogging with nothing.
I tell my family that I'm like, it's the one thing I have. Yeah, I mean,
Australia has recently introduced the 1st of July. They introduced legislation that all vapes, nicotine vapes,
yeah,
non-nicotine vapes, coil vapes, vape juice, banned.
in
I
Massachusetts. it's the same for the
Yes,
most
I
part.
found out on my birthday, which is the 4th of July. And honestly, I was like, I was sitting, I went to 2 vape stores and they said, no, no, no more vape. Because there was, they were like, no, we don't, the government, no. I was like, so I thought, oh, that's it. I'll go online and I'll order just a coil vape. I don't care about the nicotine. I just need something. And, and, and I went online and all the online stores are going, sorry, we've closed our business on my birthday, sitting there just going, I was so angry, and then I went. So I got one of those. You know, have you seen those fume thing, which is flavored air, and you suck through?
Yeah, and it's to get off the vape.
Yes,
I've seen that. Yeah,
I wouldn't mind it. I actually wouldn't mind it if there was some decent flavors, but there aren't. So I'm like, for about 4 or 5 weeks, going, like I was, and then
It's
someone
terrible.
said I worked an overnight with a different person who I don't normally work with, and he was like, he had a vape. I'm like, where'd you get that from? And he goes, oh, just down there. And I was like, oh. I walked the next night because I was working 2 or 3 nights in a row, and I walked in at like I thought they were about to close, and I like addiction, mate. In there. I said, hey, do you have vapes? And she said, yes. And I'm like, amazing. What have you got? And I bought 2.
Double.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, you're a lifesaver. And she was like, shh, like red light. This is illegal, man. Get out. And I'm never going to quit until I can't get them anymore. I mean,
I'll tell you what, I tried to buy it from a different state and like it got intercepted somehow because they were doing it for a while, but then I got a return to sender email. So they were like really cracking down on like not getting anything menthol. And I like mint. I don't want like, you know.
I like the super sweet ones. So which is why the fume things that like they're not, there's a licorice one and I mean, it's okay, but it's hardcore licorice. It's not exactly like blueberry, raspberry bubblegum, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, sidebar, okay. Me and vapes, you and vapes. You got to have something.
Gotta have something.
You went to that first meeting. Did you keep going to those young
people? I
ended
up in a detox. In like a few years, I ended up in my first detox. Yeah. And,
right. So, how long between when you started going to meetings to when you thought, no, I need to go to full rehab or detox?
It probably maybe a year and a half. Yeah.
So you were still inactive, like still using, getting on the cocaine and stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I pills, cocaine, crack. I mean, it was like, I never really liked the down stuff. I was a party girl. I was like, let's go till 8 in the morning. Yeah, and it was that. But I think like getting that seed planted when I went to that meeting and I saw people that I knew getting sober and like I saw them on the street before and they were looking like real rough. And then I saw them at the meeting and they looked great. And, you know, I thought I looked great too, but I was probably like gray, you know what I mean? Sniffling all the time. I like deviated septum. It was all bad, you know? And then I went to my first detox for 2 weeks and, it was interesting. It was kind of like not like a real like bad one. It was nice. I'll never forget. This lady said to me, I was crying. I'm like, I don't know. Because it was really scary leaving my first detox to come out into the world and like, what do I do with myself? Because my entire life before was always like finding, getting, doing, the people, the lifestyle. I think the lifestyle too can be really addicting. The whole routine of what you do. It's
when you sort of going through like a roller coaster, which is why my theme of my whole channel is the roller coaster, and is like it's hard to get used to coasting through the middle in sort of in terms of your brain chemistry and your lifestyle and relationships, everything. When you're used to being like a wrecking ball or a roller coaster going through up and down, it's really hard from an endorphins or a dopamine kind of a thing. It's really hard to go into like middle of the road cruise when you're getting, obviously there's something with the people with addictive tendencies with their brains that they need that rush, even good or bad, up or down, so long as it's something that's not just, you know, the drudgery.
Absolutely, because you're constantly looking for something to give you something, because in your life, like I could not do for myself for many years what substances could do for me. And I think that when you come off substance, especially like, you know, if you're coming off and you've been doing these things for years and then you come down and you start thinking about the things that you did while you were high, because you are going to do things that you wouldn't normally do. your lifestyle. Like I dropped out of high school when I was 16, and I just kind of like ran, and I got my first apartment with like 15 people in Alston and Boston.
Did
When I
you
was
say
17.
15 people?
Yeah, there was like 15 of us in a huge house. Yeah,
That sounds like absolute
I
hell.
got kicked
But
out because I was
okay.
the problem. Yet this
Oh.
oh my god, yeah. And that's that, you know, and that would really bother me too, is like all the things that I did, and I never I was always in my own way, you know. I didn't know how to live. And I felt like I just was never like I'm an adult, but I was never like an adult, you know.
Because you said you're the youngest of five, yes?
I am, yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
think that perhaps being the baby of five's quite a lot, even though you had a lovely, supportive, beautiful family, do you think that maybe you felt like you were a little bit floundering, like on the tail end of everything? Do you think that's got something to do with it?
Yeah, you know, I'm the youngest of five. My siblings are much, much older than me, so I was kind of like an only child. Like my father passed away when I was 10,
I'm
and
so
one of my
sorry.
brothers like moved out that same year, you know, and he never returned. So it's like, and my mom is like, my mom's the best. She did the best she could with
Yes.
what she had, and I don't. This is the thing too. This is what I like to say when, you know, this is something I learned in hindsight, like trauma and all these, like, you know, abuses or my family this, you want to point fingers, like none of those things make someone an alcoholic.
No.
At best it's like oxygen to a fire that's
Yes.
there, you know what I'm saying? And people are like, oh, I had this, I had that. And I've heard some horrible things being a sponsor in Alcoholics Anonymous. And you know, the things are, it doesn't make you an alcoholic. You know, what makes you an alcoholic is, you know, you keep everything in, you don't know how to be vulnerable, you just want to fix whatever you're feeling inside, and you do that with substance. It's like a hole you're filling, and until you can like fill that hole with, like, I'm saying like a lot, with positive things, with like relearning how to live. Like I didn't know how to like write a check. You know what I mean? And that was my fault because I never had to. I never had money. It was always cash, and I was giving it to somebody else. You know, I couldn't pay my rent. Like I was a bartender and a waitress, and I had cash on me all the time. You know, they were always looking for me. It's like, and it's a repetitive cycle. And I got so that when I was at that my first detox, this lady said to me, and I'll never forget it. She said, Amy, if you put a quarter of the energy into something positive that you do into getting high every day, you're going to be successful. And she wasn't wrong. I mean, I didn't get it like that time, but she wasn't wrong. Like that it's totally true. You do need to put work into being okay.
Into just like honestly, into a relationship, into yourself, into a work position, a work role, into a hobby. Nothing just happens. Nothing just happens.
No, and it doesn't happen quickly either. Like I had gotten sober and I got my GED and I went to college. And what happened is like you're talking about kind of like putting addiction into something else. So what I did was I got sober, and then I went to college full time and I worked full time. So I just kept myself busy like all of those years, and I did stay sober. Um, I I stayed sober, but I just it was one for the other. And I met a guy. Guys have ruined you know how that goes. I met a guy and he was sober. And by the time I realized that he was not sober, I was already like attached and it was all bad.
That's so disappointing when someone who's not being honest with themselves puts that on to you. And when it especially affects, like, that's so disingenuous. So, did you feel betrayed when you realized that he wasn't what he was projecting himself to be?
Yeah, it was terrible. And I ended up, so like being an addict, I ended up being on the other side too of watching someone that I love kill himself essentially, right? Like he's gonna unalive himself and he doesn't like care about himself. I remember saying to him, like, I wish you loved you as much as I love you. You know, and my I
I
didn't even
used the same line on someone.
yeah.
Didn't work.
It
He's
doesn't
in
work.
jail.
No.
No.
Yeah. Mine should be in jail. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and so I
Yeah.
met him, and I went on his roller coaster, and I went on his ride, and that was wild. And and then I ended up, after our relationship, I ended up in another detox, and I relapsed, and I was so damaged. At least I felt that way.
Because
I
also then
felt,
you've got and then you've got the disappointment of the betrayal and the relationship and all
oh,
of those. So it's tenfold, really. It's exponentially worse because you're hating on yourself for, I presume, for all of the things that you failed at
all of it.
recognizing, keeping away from.
Mhm. All of it. And like my mother and like my sister, one of my sisters is like my best friend, right? And I remember like standing in her kitchen, and she's like throwing me out of the house, and I can't imagine how hard it was for her and her husband, who I love very much as well. And they're like, Amy, you got to get out. My children love you, and they can't see you like this. I
Mm.
understand it now, but at the time it was like really hard. And my sister's like, I don't know how to help you. Drugs and guys and everything have like taken over. And I didn't know, I don't function properly. I don't know. Like there's people that can like weekend warriors. Like, what's that? I go hard all the time. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
For me, like my sort of absolute sobriety from drugs, I still have a glass of wine every night, so I guess I'm not completely sober, but y'all, I've got it. I can't. But I can just have a glass of wine. For me, my sobriety came by necessity. I realized I needed to step up and be adult and stop like running.
Yeah.
I also realized that the negative aspects of my addiction, which were most, in my opinion, but probably being a little bit deluded, were financial. And financially, I couldn't risk becoming homeless again. I couldn't risk losing what I've worked so hard for. And because I'm an all or nothing person like you, I guess I haven't touched my jug of choice is meth, would be meth. I haven't touched meth for, honestly, probably 15 months now at all. Before then, it was occasionally, like if someone's like would hit me up and like, you kind of draw, even begrudgingly drawn to people who have that that part of their life. While you forever, I'll always have to be really careful of not being drawn into that. So I probably over the last 3 years have not, I had a little dalliance for just one go, like as in a half an 8 ball or something, and
Yeah.
and that's all gone. And then but like for me, because I'm an all or nothing person, my brain, and because meth is such a cerebral drug, it grabs you
Yeah.
forever. I still dream about it. I still dream that
Yeah.
I've lost it. I can't find somewhere to smoke it. That my pipe's broken. Like so, I'll forever have to be very
It's so
careful.
stressful. It's so,
Stressful. It is. And I wake up
it's
going,
so stressful.
damn it. But so I've worked out in the last 15 months that even when someone messages me and says, "Hey, I'll shout you," and I'm like, you know what? That's not good for me because I can't afford to go all in, and I will want to go all in. So I have to just say no. And I've just had to block those people when they pop up along the way because like my brain will always go, oh, I really want to. So
Right.
that's,
And that's normal, because the thing is, you associate the kid that I went on a run with, when I relapsed. I love him to death, and I like love him, but I know that I haven't seen him since I got clean, and I know that he's like in programs and jumping around and stuff, and I can love him from afar, kind of like my family did with me. Like, Amy, I love you, but like I can't have you like with me, you
no,
know.
because at the end of the day, the addiction in anybody is going to be screaming the loudest because it grabs onto your brain, whatever the addiction is, whether it's sex addiction or substance abuse or gambling.
Right. All the
There's
above.
no rationale, there's no logic, there's no objectivity. It takes over. So if you want to like keep that loud screaming addiction voice off your shoulder, you can't be anyone else whose voice is screaming loudly because you're just gonna be drawn back in, right?
Right, and that's a fact. That's the other thing too. Like, it's all about changing your people, places, and things. And I know it's like kind of a cliche, like gotta do it, but it's true. Like,
Mm.
It is so true.
Absolutely.
And it is so humbling to go up and get a coin. You know, like it's for that first year, it's nice because it's something tangible that you can like work for, right? And then
Yes.
after it goes by the year, and you know, that's that was always nice to go up and
Yeah.
get. I have a lot of 24-hour coins, by the way, so if anyone wants one.
Congratulations. Yeah, I think in life everybody likes to be recognized when they've put in the work in something that's been hard, and it's and taken a lot of focus and energy and dedication and discipline. And the same is, I think, probably sobriety, or staying away from whatever your addiction is would be one of the most important things to be recognized for, in a symbolic way and in an actual tangible way.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And what really helped me like get on track, I needed to like find a sponsor, and I needed a woman that like I kind of like watched her interact with people, and she carried herself beautifully, and I wanted to obtain what she had obtained. Like I had listened to her at the podium about her story, and I thought like, wow, like she was like that, you know, because it kind of it could be a stark difference from a person that's speaking, talking about like they had whatever. So I asked her to be my sponsor, and her and I went through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it is a way to a lot of I myself, like a lot of the people with addiction want to blame, like we were just talking about, like my trauma and this and that and the other thing. The big book and the steps are geared to unload all of that stuff in your soul and turn your life and will into like service. Like stop thinking about yourself. Stop thinking about what you need, and you need to like go and give, like go give service, go help someone else. And
Yes.
so it's like a kind of like a map for life, how to be an adult, like how to like be like I learned how to be a lady through watching other women also learn how to be a lady and pay bills and like keep an apartment for more than 6 months. You know what I mean? Um, and I needed that. Like that's hard to say, but I just like I was so lost. And every time I put anything in my body, it drives the bus, and it's really ugly. You know, my life turns into a disaster.
Yes. And they do so. I mean, you mentioned to me that you have had over your lifetime, I think you said seven or so, where you've fallen off the wagon, relapsed.
Yeah.
So talk us through how that made you feel about yourself and how
Awful.
you found your way out. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's one of those things. I put myself in a position. You know, I think too. Every time I relapse, like I was looking to relapse. Water seeks
Yeah.
its own level. I'm gonna seek someone out because I know that like they have a connect in Brockton that like
Yes.
that I'm gonna want, and I'm like, oh, let's want to go over there. It's fine, and I would tell myself that everything's fine, and it's not fine. Nothing was fine, and within a minute, my family didn't see me for 7 months. My mother thinks I'm like, you know, unalived in a ditch somewhere. Like the things I did to my mother, like I still have so much guilt about that, but like I show her every day that I have recovered, and I'm going to be like a good human for her, you know, and that I'm going to be okay. That's, I think, what's like the main thing. I was just like never okay. And in relapsing, it's fun at first, and then you get back into the like needing, you're stealing, your focus is just on your drugs, and it's really sick, and it takes over. You know, I envy people who that's a tough one. Sorry, I was just leaving the comment. I would suggest going to Al-Anon. My mother is a black belt in Al-Anon. She I would definitely suggest going to Al-Anon and being around other parents who also have children who struggle with addiction, because it's a really good support. Because at the end of the day, they are going to do whatever they want until they're ready. And I know that that's like a hard thing to hear, but go to Al-Anon and you can get support there.
It's like with anything in life, when you feel like you're steering a ship through stormy waters or even smooth waters solo, it feels like you feel so alone. And there's no one to bounce ideas off. There's no one who can identify with what you're going through and vice versa. So to find a support group, whether it's in terms of addiction, I know when I first found out that I was autistic and neurodivergent, I found a lot of solace and a tribe in Facebook autistic women's groups and things, just to finally go, oh my gosh, I'm not, it's not me, there's nothing wrong with me, and some strategies that people and some, you know, like-mindedness. It's the same with this, I'm sure. Like,
Yeah, that's like AA. You surround yourself with people that are like you. And I even like I had a son a few years back, and I don't go to AA the way I used to. But all of my friends that I have currently are from the meetings that I went to when I first started, and I was sponsoring and I was doing this thing. I surround myself with people who I want to be. This is my mother. I never understood what my mother said when I was younger. She'd be like, Amy, you are the company you keep.
absolutely.
And that I never understood what that meant until I was older, and I was like, oh, she was right. She was right. Yeah, that's it's
Along the way, Amy, have you done any, because I'm not, I understand somewhat the format of AA and how it works. Have you done any therapy or counseling separate to and in addition to AA along
oh
the
yeah,
way?
absolutely. I think therapy and AA have to work in conjunction together. I've been in AA, I've been in therapy every say 2 weeks now. But since I started getting better, because the thing is too is like your soul, your inside, all those things that eat you apart, that make you sad about yourself, like make you think that you're not worthy, make you think that you belong on the streets and you're not good enough to be better, right? There's things inside you that AA and that thing cannot fix. And I myself have gone to therapy every week to every 2 weeks since my journey started 7.5 years ago. Um, yeah, that's something that in conjunction, my therapist, I've had the same one forever, and she is really good. She knows I'm part of the program, that I'm sober, and we work on things to make me healthy. Because at the end of the day, like when I'm an addict, I'm not healthy. I'm not healthy to be around. I'm not healthy to myself, and I'm not healthy to anybody else. And I want to be like, I want to be like a good citizen, but that can be hard if you're in active addiction. And like I said, it's a lifestyle too. Like some people like that, like fast buzzing, going away, calling people like that. It can be very attractive or addicting as well. And so it's like getting yourself out. Just get yourself out and put yourself in the middle of healthy people that know what you're going through. And go to meetings. I know meetings like aren't like the best thing. To like, go in necessarily willingly, but go until you like it. Like I went every single night, and then I met people, and then I was excited to go see Lisa, or I was excited to go see, and then you become like a little family. And it's I'm telling you, like the AA and the 12 steps can save your life if you're willing. But it's work, and it doesn't happen overnight. Like I was literally living when I first started sober, because I was kind of like removed from my situation, and I was like sleeping on like someone's couch that was in a nursing home. You know what I mean? Like, but I kept going to meetings. I got myself a little job, because when I'm using, I am not employable whatsoever. Um, it has ruined a lot of things in my life, but it's having the perseverance to get back up and get healthy and better again, because it can get better. I have seen it in front of me. I've seen people's life change, but it's work.
It is work. Shari's got a question there. Follow-up question. When the parent knows about their child's addiction, but the child doesn't admit or see it, that's the big thing with addiction, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, and you're really going to struggle to affect any buy-in from yourself or from a child or a friend if they haven't hit rock bottom, right?
Right. And like like I said, if the kids aren't fessing up to it and things like that, it will rear its ugly head eventually. Um, if until they come to you and say something, I mean,
Be
I,
there for them, don't abandon them, be there for them, support them
I
as much as you can. But sometimes a bit of tough love, like you said,
don't
your
give them
sister.
money.
Mm,
Don't let their friends stay over. Like, kind of like put your foot down and you're in like boundaries.
boundaries.
A lot of boundaries. Don't give them money. Is a big thing. My mother would that was one thing. I'm like, Mom, can I have like $20? And she'd be like, "God, my face," because she's like, well, if you're gonna do what you're gonna do, but I'm not gonna help you do it, type of thing. And like I said, I would go to Al-Anon. I can put the link in the chat when I get over when this is over
Yes,
to
if you could.
find the meeting. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that.
they're all over, and you would find like those questions will be really geared toward moms who have been through it, and that's where you would find at Al-Anon.
Can you go through briefly the 12 steps for people who maybe aren't aware, just so that people understand how our AA and works?
Sure. So the Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is like step one. You are powerless to drugs and alcohol. With respect to AA, they don't really like you talking about drugs, but it's kind of like modern now, so that it's not a big deal. And
So
then,
there is NA and AA, yes. So they
yeah,
like to keep them separate, but it's random to me because they're the same thing, really.
it's just verbiage, really.
Yes.
I prefer AA. Don't know why. I've never been into Narcotics Anonymous meetings, but they also have their steps, and then it's like clean house, right? So you're getting all that stuff off your chest. You're talking about all the stuff that bothers you, and he did this to me, and she did this to me, and blah, blah. And you go over it with your sponsor, who you trust, that has also gone through this process, and then she starts they or say she because mine is a she start to ask you questions like, what's your part in this, like, stop pointing fingers, like you're a lot of people, especially addicts, it's never they're victims. You know what I mean? Like, it's internal victim. So it's like getting that victim mentality out of your insides, and then it's you go through, like, they teach you prayers and helping others and service, like be of service to somebody else, be of service to a meeting, help others, like stop thinking about yourself. And once I will tell you this, once I like got like this time around, when I really got it, once I stopped focusing so much on myself and I focused on others and like helping them, my life got significantly better. And I wasn't like, it just happened. You know what I mean? And it's not like witchery. It's just like, stop being so self-centered and
You got to
stop.
sometimes you do have to work through where that sort of pity party, that self-centeredness, that little poor me thing is coming from, until you work through and do like what I call the shadow work, to do the work on yourself, which is why I asked you about therapy.
Yeah,
Put some dedicated time. You're never going to be able to come to a point of acceptance of your circumstances, of your past, of your present, and without acceptance, you're going to always be kind of angry and angry at the world, and then you're going to still seek out that self-medication of whatever your addiction, your substance is.
for sure. For sure. Yeah, therapy definitely, like, because there's some things that happen in life that like you had no control over, and those things hurt, and those things are like a fingerprint on your personality and how you're wired. And so therapy is to like rewire whatever's going on in your brain, right? Like, um, I would say that therapy may have helped me like more in a different way. A little AA gave me a lot of camaraderie and a lot of friends, like really, really good friends, not friends that are like, oh, you can hang out if you got $20. Do you know this person? Like, come over. Like, that's not friendship. It's all transactional when you're, and that's like too. I had to learn how to like be a friend.
Yeah,
You
drug
know what I
friends
mean?
aren't real friends. That's
They're
what
not
I
your
was.
friends.
No.
Yeah, I had to
So
learn how to be a friend.
the regimented, like not regimented, but the sort of milestone based 12-step program is very helpful, I would assume, to work towards something, because when you're in active addiction, you're aimless. The only goal you're working towards is feeding and fueling the addiction. And so I can imagine that having some structure and routine and goals, sort of relative, like short to medium term goals, would have been helpful.
Yeah.
Would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Well, it's like one, so it's like one foot in front of the other. Like everyone always wants like the end goal. It's just like little things add up, you know, and it's stepping stones. And the thing is too, like sometimes you need direction. Like my sick thinking gets me nowhere. You know what I mean? And that can happen fast. So I to this day, I'll like ask my friends, like, is this normal? And like, am I thinking like as an addict, or am I thinking as like a normal person? You know,
Mm.
because it can creep back in. I'm a firm believer that it's like a personality defect, and you have like this need to encompass every single sort of substance that you can in order to feel like you like that desired feeling, like
To fill
yeah,
a gap, there's something missing in you that you just want to fill up, and it's only when you sort of realize that. I think you really hit on something pretty important there, that being productive, contributing to society, to people, it makes such a big difference to your feelings of self-worth. And it's very hard once when you're in that self-absorbed like
yeah,
bubble of pity and shame and that cycle.
it's
Once you
awful.
start stepping out of that, you kind of never look back. Absolutely.
Right. And the thing is too is like now I've been sober since May 28th of 2000. Sorry, my computer's moving.
No?
May 28th of 2017 this time. And I just celebrated 7 years, which was
Congrats.
really, really, yeah. And you know too, it's like I don't go to as many meetings and stuff as I used to. I was very involved for like the first while, and now I'll do like YouTube has speakers once in a while, or Zooms or something, and I because the goal of getting better is to live well, right? It's to live well, because the way I lived before was gross and it hurt people, and more importantly, it hurt me. And so the goal was to live good, and I live by the principles that I was taught by my sponsor. I try, at least. I mean, everyone everyone has their days, right? But I'm clean today, and I don't drink, and so the journey has been hard. And like you said, like you're being tested by people who pop up, and you're like, oh, they're fun. You know what I mean? Or like, we'll have a good time for 5 days, and then I'll feel like absolute dog shit. Um, so yeah, it's an everyday battle. Like I don't look at my sobriety as a like I licked it type of thing, because I know that it's not. It could creep up at any time, and I could have like a so actively every single day you have to be productive to be healthy. You can't do nothing. Like you're not going to get healthy with no work, right? Um, yeah. Hell, you're sucking me too much.
Hot
I
topic.
I was a mod on a true crime channel, and I was on with
Say other
him.
channel.
And
Say
what's
other
that?
channel. You can
Oh,
say other.
Justin for All. And
Yes.
then I started modding for Tom CPU, who's absolutely amazing. He has this new channel, Seeking Justice with Boston Mike, which is a really great channel. And I mod on LTL. And then me and Miss Shorty have become really, really, really friendly together. And she made me a mod here. So I love modding. I love being in chats. I love being a cheerleader in there. It's one of my faves.
It's really it's an honor, and it's fun, and I
Yeah.
think it for people who generally enjoy being present, inclusive, vibrant in chats as a participant, make a natural sort of inclusion in the moderation team. Absolutely, it's huge. And people notice that stuff, like and then it feels good. Like I know for me now, just with my YouTube stuff, it's being in chats, not necessarily as a moderator, just in chats in general, and
Right.
people saying hi to me. And like I always say to hi to everybody, as many people as I can, because it makes such a difference to how you feel about yourself when you say hi and someone goes hi. Like,
Yeah.
and that's how you make friends, and that's how inclusiveness is really important in YouTube chats. And it always makes me sad when someone says, "Am I blocked? Can nobody see my comments?" It's
Going
like, oh,
talking to
I'm
them.
not doing my job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, no, I always make a big effort to be included.
And that's the thing too. It's like even with you, everyone gets so excited when you come in because you even through like just typing, like you can tell how bubbly and sweet you are, and that comes across. And I'm an inclusion person even in real life. Like I like to tell people if I like their dress or I like
Yes,
their tie, like that because I want that to happen to me too. You know what I
I live
mean?
my
People
whole
want you want to be
life.
treated.
We're
Yeah.
very similar, Amy. I think I live my whole life by the golden rule of doing unto others as you would have others do unto you. So treat people how you would like to be treated. And I know how it feels to be ignored or not included or sort of disregarded. And so it doesn't. It's not hard to do that. I'm the same. I'm the person who'll give great feedback to a stranger. I'm like, oh my god, I love your hair, or but also the person who'll say you've got something in your teeth, because just say it. Like, what's wrong with
You
people?
have
Just
beautiful teeth. Look at those.
I have to be honest, I have a couple missing, and people may well say like back ones, a molar up here and a molar down here. People will say that's the meth. It's not, because my teeth. If it was the meth, my teeth would be disgusting the whole way around. I have as part of my neurodivergence, I have bruxism, so I clench my jaw all the time. And so over almost 50 years of doing that, like I used to, I don't so much now. I used to wake up in the night and I'd wake up and my jaw would be clenched, not
like
grinding.
grinding. Oh, okay.
No, just clenched. I
Yeah.
ended up getting Botox here to relax those muscles. It cost me almost $1,000, and it made a big difference. But it cracked my teeth. So I'm actually like a hillbilly in the back, and I'm all French at the front.
Girl, same. It's fine. They can't see those.
No, not often. I try not to throw my head back and laugh, and you'd be like, "Oh, what's going on in there?"
Right. Yeah.
It's nice to people. I don't know if you've been
I
being able to
haven't
see.
looked at chat really.
No, people have been really.
Hi
This is
everyone.
such an important thing for people. I think Megan Easton before said she really needed this today. I don't know how far back it is. Let me see if I can pull up that. Yes, here we go. Have a read of that. I think this is such an important thing for everybody, whether it's yourself as someone in forever an addict of whatever, or in active addiction now, or 20 years sober, or whether you're a family member or a friend.
Everyone's affected. Everybody. There's actually a Facebook page for there's a place in Boston called Mass and Cast, and it is the saddest place that you could ever go to. And it's of like parents searching for their kid in active addiction, haven't seen them in 4 years, have people panicked because there's their 14-year-old girls like missing down there for 5 days. Like it is so heartbreaking, but the community does come together, and there's like community outreach people that will go on that page and look around for people's loved ones, and that's like giving back. These people were ex-addicts, and they're like, I'm gonna find your loved one because they deserve to be home. And I commend people that do that.
There's another one from Shari. Do you feel like being open and talking about it, either here on a public platform or as a sponsor, has helped you stay sober and clean?
Yes, having a sponsor, definitely, because it's someone that you can like call and go. You need someone to that's someone that's not your friend. They could become your friend later, but they're not your friend. They're there to help you get sober. And if you go to a meeting or wherever you are, pick someone who you want to emulate. That's my best advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think when you speak about anything, and speak it into existence, it brings out a sense of like accountability. And once you've said something and you acknowledge it, then you kind of, unless you're a person who doesn't value their integrity or their word, you know, and as someone who's, me and you both, relapsed many times and found the lure of the addiction stronger than the resolution to stay clean and sober, you don't ever want to feel that shame that you feel, and it shouldn't be shame, but it's human nature to feel shameful when you go back to old ways.
It's kind of like one
Absolutely.
of those things you're like, I can't believe I just did this again. Because
Yes.
like you play the tape forward, and you're like, oh God, here we go, here we go.
Exactly, because you know that same old story. You know what's going to happen, and it takes. I mean, it's people do say that it's to quit anything, whether it's a relationship or an addiction or a bad habit. It takes 7 times and also just swap it out for something else. So, like you said before,
And that's the thing too. I think you can like I did with school. You can do with men. You can do with cigarettes. You can do with anything. You swap out one for the other. But I always say like if it's like a healthy addiction, like I'm wicked into true crime. It consumes me. I get really into this stuff. I model like 8 channels, and I love it. And that's just like something that I love and I do. And it's like it's healthy. I'll take a break if I need to, but it's just find something that makes you feel alive. Everyone needs purpose in life. And I think that one of my problems when I was using, I had no focus or purpose. I too am ADHD. And fun fact, ADHD and autism often go to stimulants
yes,
as drug choices to
yes,
like fix our makeup.
absolutely. That's why for me, meth. When I'm on meth,
Right.
I'm not high. Like, I mean, obviously with copious amounts, I'm feeling extremely methy. But
Talking about
my brain,
pinching the jaw.
I have I have clarity when I'm on meth. Obviously, it's an amphetamine, so dexamphetamine, all those medical prescribed amphetamines for the same reason. So I have clarity. It makes me feel less noise in my head. And that's one of the main things I do struggle with, kind of, as I say, raw dogging it. And why? Because I really have to micromanage and be on top of my ADHD tendencies, like actively, to not, because I just know that I'm actually not looking for the high and the party life. I just want that consistent clarity where all my plates in my brain that are spinning, all the different tracks can spin relatively smoothly rather than crashing into each other. And yeah.
And it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing, because that little bit that you like, that first hit that you get, it'll feel like it fixed something, but then it like goes off the rails, right? And then
Yeah.
even like, and I'm not a doctor. Like if your doctor puts you on a medication, if you can take it, like that's like your choice and things like that. Like I'm ADHD, and I'm not going to not take my meds because, you know, but it's a slippery cycle too, because even those meds can be abusable,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. Having a purpose I know we've already touched on it, but I know when I was homeless and unemployed, but mostly the unemployed part, the thing that I knew I needed the most was a purpose and a way to give back to society. I felt like I wasn't contributing anything, and it really did play on my mind. And when I finally got back into the paid workforce, the pride and the sense of relief and contentment I had just to be contributing to society rather than taking. Like, we have an okay unemployment system, government allowance in Australia. It's below the poverty line, but at least it's there.
Something.
Yeah, but like, having a purpose is such an important thing. And so when I got to working, I mean, it's just a menial job, but it's important. I'm managing the traffic on the roads. It's got to be done. And then but then I think even this channel and the Free Karen Reid movement has just leveled that up. And I was saying to Nick, one of my a good friend and moderator in this channel, how I haven't felt any, oh, I might need to go back on antidepressants. Oh geez, I wish I could get on the meth. I haven't felt that in the longest time because I'm too busy with work and the channel and moderating 6 channels, but just I've got something that feels inspiring, that's lifting me up, that's filling my heart with purpose. It's so important.
It is. And that helps, because if you wake up with nothing every day, that takes a toll on everything. And the thing is too is, I think a lot of people, like we were talking about therapy, like kind of intermixing whatever helps, right? Whatever gets you healthy. A lot of people suffer with mental illness. They suffer with And, you know, that's something that is a contributor to wanting to self-medicate. And that's a toughie. And so if you and you know, tough.
The other thing with being neurodivergent, so autistic and ADHD, which I actually think they're the same thing, but whatever, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah. Same family.
And, yeah, and the crossover, existing as a neurodivergent person in a neurotypical world is exhausting. Autistic burnout is real, and ADHD, managing yourself within uh, neurotypical structures of society, when your brain needs and wants things to be done differently so that you feel okay, is exhausting and depressing in itself, and it can lead to absolute. It's very common for people with autism and ADHD to feel like they need that to have mental health issues. And then when you've got that, and particularly in addiction, like I was saying before, with the roller coaster of crashing in and out of the highs and lows, that stuff is not just lifestyle, but it's brain chemistry. So often SSRIs or an antidepressant of some description, that's the whole point, is to bring your brain activity back into a smooth sort of more confined boundaries of highs and lows, so you don't feel that. It's really quite important.
Right. And there's like a stigma of like people like that they're on antidepressants and like they're embarrassed or whatever. It's like no, if there's nothing to be embarrassed about, it's like having the flu. You know what I mean? Like just go take care of it.
Needing
Yeah.
glasses, like
Needing
just
glasses is to say, yeah, absolutely. And people are embarrassed, like, no, like go on those antidepressants. Like they're like, but I'm an addict. I don't want to be on anything. No, like you should really listen to your doctor. That's my opinion. But you
when
know,
I was when I was at the height of my depression, or the low of my depression, and you actually can't see anything positive, and I didn't have a lot of positive in my world then, so it was real and facts based, but it was also my brain just couldn't, it physically couldn't. When I finally relented and said, fine, I will go on antidepressants because I have to. I'm going to end up dead. Because I have had, trigger warning, many suicide attempts. And I thought I will end up dead. And it's incredible. Within 2 weeks of being on a very low dose of Lexapro, what's that? Fluoxetine, Prozac. Yep,
Prozac,
yep,
same.
yep,
And
yep. Within 2 weeks, less
leveled me
than
the fuck out.
suddenly I was like, hang on, I can do
Yeah.
this. I didn't feel overwhelmed. Nothing in my life had changed. In fact, it was getting
Right.
worse. But suddenly my brain chemistry was tweaked to the point that I could see a way out. I could, nothing changed
Right.
except for the medication. It's quite amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. And the thing is too is like being autistic or ADHD, I have like that crippling social anxiety, even to this day. Like with the depression medication, or you know, I also am diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. It calms down all that noise you feel,
Yep.
and it's a contributor to being well, because I know that like when I was going out and I was doing like all these like crazy things, like I'm too old for this shit, first of all. It was like I was way too old for it, and I was trying to do what the medication's currently doing for me. But you always got to work on yourself. You always got to say to yourself, like, in my opinion, like, what can I do today to be better? How can I help somebody else? Because helping someone else is going to come right back on you, and you're going to give you blessings and gifts. I'm 100% on that.
100%. There's studies have shown that people who do charitable things, do things for other people, whether it's financially or acts of service, or just being giving and kind, and um, they've done studies of the brain, and their feelings of well-being and how
Yeah,
that lights the brain are so much higher when you're doing things for other people, and not necessarily preaching on about it, but just knowing in yourself, not a public do-gooding, but just doing them.
right, right, exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
public
Doing
kudos is
something
good.
nice for someone and don't post it on social media. How about that? you know,
Guilty.
that works. Yeah, same, same.
What else have we got here? Um,
Oh, Samantha, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, wow. Death, do you have any, have you have anybody in your life who, other obviously your father,
Yeah.
do you, I would suggest that trauma would be a direct link. What, less than 5 years later, you're at deep in active addiction by the
Yeah,
time you're
my
50.
father was an alcoholic, and I lived in an alcoholic home, and so I think there's like some type of like personality things that you get from living in a home like that. He was really strict, and he passed away when I was 10, and then it was just like me and my mom, and that there probably is trauma around that, and I think I went wild um, after that. It definitely was oxygen,
Yeah.
to get me out there and running for sure. I mean, yeah, and then here there's an epidemic of heroin use, and it makes me so sad. It is unnatural how many friends I have lost to addiction. Like people my age, like I started losing friends in my 20s. I have lost so many friends. I was on bed rest with my son at the very end, and my best friend, my best guy friend, who actually like helped me when I like didn't have a place to live. I was staying at his house, and I find out that I talked to him and he had passed away from an overdose. He had been sober for a long time and died in his room like a few days before I had my son. And that was
Oh,
like really, really hard on me because he sounded great. Like usually I could tell if he was like, but he sounded great when I talked to him. And then 2 days later he was gone. And we're talking like so many people just passing away right, left, and sideways from addiction. And I wish they knew how loved they are and that there was a way out of what they were doing. And there is a way out. You just got to put some work in it.
do the work. Like nothing in
Do the
life,
work.
nothing
Do the
having
work.
in life,
Exactly.
nothing worth having in life comes easy, right? Um, Never. So you have to work at anything that you really want and that you really believe in.
Yeah.
Sarah, in shock and horror.
I
You ladies
love
are.
her.
She's the best.
She's
Well,
my bestie.
um, thank you for sharing your experiences and talking about something so important. You never know who you're helping. Much love to you both. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah's a beautiful person and a beautiful supportive friend and friend of the channel. Love her bits.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had when I was a sex worker for about 5 years up until 2018 ish, and
Yeah.
my decision, my active decision to start using meth was a business decision, but it turned out to be a bad one. But and I mean, it worked at the time. It worked, but I went into it with relatively a fairly open understanding of what I was getting myself into. Lol.
Right.
Nothing good can come of meth. Let's just say that. But
No, and it's fuel to keep going, whatever you're doing. Boosting, escorting, whatever. It's like it's the fuel, and you keep going because of it.
absolutely, that exactly good for business.
Uh
Yeah.
huh. There it is.
Right. And
Yeah.
so and then also in that world, then, and when Tommy and Boston Mike were talking to their guest last night, which I can't remember his name, but I have seen him before on many other channels, about the smiley face killer, and he was talking about GHB, and GHB works really well really well
I've
with
willingly taken it. Like,
pardon.
I've willingly taken it. Like,
Yeah,
I was
same. I
like,
was a mad juice. Mad, I was an absolute, like, again, it exponentially improved my business and also my, like, anyway, we'll talk about
right.
that in the next show, because that's what the next show is about, is sex work at 7:30. But
Cool.
so the thing with GHB, and I'm sure you know, but maybe people don't know, is it's a bit like there's a very fine line between how much is getting you to the point that you want to be, and literally with point one, point two of a mil
Right.
between good and blown out, which is where
Lit.
you lose consciousness, and then also death. And it's
Right.
similar to and so you build up a tolerance, as with any drug, and so the more you take, the more you need, and the more
Sure.
you do have. I didn't ever really have a physical addiction to juice, and I will never touch it again, because it's revolting, and the associations I have with some of the people that I participated in that with is beyond. I will never. But
Right. You go
so
to
I had,
trenches, man.
Yeah, and then a lot of my colleagues and friends, if you could call them that, in the where I worked in Melbourne called Gotham City, were also introduced, and but all of us ended up leaving that establishment and trying to pick up the pieces of our lives, because equally nothing good comes of sex work.
Right.
But two of my friends, my best friend since then, has actually died from a GHB overdose, because she got clean and then went back home to live with her mother. Uh, After getting clean, her mother had kind of disowned her while she was in her wildest times. She went
Right.
back home and obviously had a relapse and went back to her original, what she used to take of juice, of GHB, which was far too much for her tolerance, which had gone all the way down. And yeah, and there she died of an overdose. Another girl as well, same. It's so, drugs are just
Yeah,
such a
there was. I'll tell one war story. I had taken way too much of it one night, and I was in like one place, and I went into like a blackout of some sort, and I ended up in a different state and pulled over
oh!
by the state police. Oh my god! He's like, "Do you know who you are?" And I'm looking around, and I'm like, "No, I have no idea where I am."
And so when Tommy and Boston Mike and the guests were talking about this young man, XYZ young man, these victims who survived potential being murdered by whoever, predators in whatever town, that they had absolutely no memory of it. I was in the chat going 100% GHB. I was trying to get ready for my streams yesterday. I was like, trust me, GHB, no doubt about it. Been there, done that. I've got so many funny juice stories. Oh my god, I've got a whole book about blowing out on GH. It's not fun.
I was in the ecstasy push too, like when I first started like really getting into partying and going to club stuff. Like I one time I ended up in the hot, like you take too much ecstasy and your body like literally fries from the inside. You know, but
Yeah,
it was
wow,
fun having it in, and then all of a sudden, so people were dropping from taking too much of it. It's like it's a
absolutely.
never ending. It was fun until it wasn't.
The other thing with GHB is if you're drinking alcohol, the GHB and taking G, it knowingly or unknowingly, unwittingly, whether you've been roofied or you're doing it by choice,
Right.
it goes into, like, you have the GHB and it kind of sits on top of the alcohol in your stomach, and then so you're kind of feeling drunk rather than the effect of the GHB, even though they are quite similar. And then so you might have too much of the G because you don't really realize, and then the alcohol in your system burns off and it just boosh, and that's often where people end up getting in some serious trouble and often dying, is because they've been drinking alcohol and taking GHB. It's a hard pass. It's a don't do it.
Yeah, and people like take the capfuls like crazy. I'm like, you should probably just not just slow down, you know, because it doesn't hit you like that. And that people, and that's the other too. People start doing something and they go right back to the amount that they were doing when they relapsed or before they relapsed, and that's just like not feasible. You know,
Fun
it's sad.
story. I'm gonna, like, I'm dropping myself in it. This is my previous life, everybody, but I used to buy big
Same.
quantities. This is in the past, okay? I'm so legit now. Like, I'm a proper, like, I'm a famous YouTuber, all right? Lol.
You're
No,
a
but
lady now. Yeah,
I'm a
right.
fucking lady, right?
You are a fucking lady. That's right.
But I
That's
used
right.
to thank you, Megan, by the way. I used to buy, because I had the income to buy big quantities of meth and juice, and then it was only so I could get a better unit price for myself. Oh my goodness, sorry. So I could get a better unit price for myself, and then I'd just find some. I wasn't doing it to make money, but I'd buy like 10 liters of G, yeah, or 10
That's a
like
lot.
yeah, like a
A
full
lot.
jerry can, like a lot, and then I distribute it. So I used to occasionally, like, God, the stories. But anyway, so I was doing a run from Melbourne to Sydney and I had buyers up there, and I had my personal assistant. Yes, I had a personal assistant. So many stories. And we got up there, and in
Like
Sydney,
personal
there's like
assistant. I love
EPL.
it.
Pardon?
I said you had a personal assistant. I love that for
Oh,
you.
I used to pay them 11. They used to live in okay, so I lived in a penthouse. This is like, I lived in a penthouse, $1,000 a week, 27th floor. I signed the lease at the height of my income, and within 6 months I had zero income. So I also was ripped by a succession of people in the space of about 3 months, conned out of about 70 grand back to back. Absolute crumbs in the toaster, all junkies, all seeing me as the golden goose, kind, giving, wanting to help people. That honestly, it was about $11,000 each person, just back to back. It was like they were all lining up at the door. And my personal assistant was one of those. So, so I used to pay him and $1,100 Australian a week cash, plus they used to do runs for me. They lived in the penthouse with me. I provided all the food. They basically they were runners for me, and they took a cut of their product as well, of my product. So let's just call it about $2,500 a week worth of, here you go, personal assistant. They did feed me well and get me up when I needed to get up, and remind me that I had to go to sleep and have a drink.
Of course they did. You were their plug. They were on it.
They were all there. But then, so we did this run we did this run to Sydney in a rental car because anyway, long story. They're all long stories. And we got to Sydney, and in Sydney they like GBL, which is a slightly different product to GHB. It's awful. It's more fast acting. It's a bit like Coke versus having a I don't know how long. I don't know. Basically, GBL happens really quickly and like hits you hard, and then dissipates out of your system quite quickly. So you need to keep having more and more. It's a lot waterier, whereas proper GHB is thick and gluggy and oily and sweet. It's hard to get these days, I've heard. So I haven't had it for probably 5 years. Yuck, I hate it. But so I'd heard that like I was able to get like a portion of each, and so I didn't want to give them this shit GBL because it is shit. It's like paint thinner, terrible. So I mixed them this amazing ratio. I mixed this amazing ratio. It was about 65 to 35 GHB to GBL, and I took it up there, and this hero of a guy who was like, yeah, let me try it. Everyone was trying it. Trust me, I didn't make any money on that. And so this guy goes, yeah, you got a 5 ml plunger, and he took filled the whole thing up with this mix, and he had a whole square. I'm like, whoa, man, this is good stuff. You watch this. He goes, no, I'll be fine. And because it had the GHB, not just GBL, so it took a little while to act. He was like, I don't know, this is shit. And then he took another full pull, so 10 mils in total.
He was rocked.
He was fucked. But
yeah.
that exercise, that expedition to Sydney, the personal assistant and his lover, young male lover, left me stranded in Sydney with only what I was wearing, took my rental car on a joyride for 3 months up to the far end of Australia, racked up red light tickets, speeding tickets. I got charged with theft of a motor vehicle. I kept paying the rental fee for about 6 weeks until they ripped me out every cent I had in my bank account as well. And
did he ever
whole
get
thing.
caught?
Yeah, I got the car. They ended up bringing the car back to Melbourne after 3 months. Sold it to another guy in that world who was also a dealer who knew exactly what I'd been going through. I've been trying to get this stupid car back forever. Just like, guys, I'm like, this is not good. Just do the right thing. Brought it back, sold the car to a friend for his young friend for like $1,000. The young friend got juicy, like G out to all get up, drove the car, crashed it, blew out in the car with a litre of juice, and they finally impounded the car, and I was then sued for $27,000 worth of damages.
For the car.
And you can't touch me in civil. So good. So drugs are bad, kids.
Stuff though, like if you're in your normal mind, you're not like dealing with like felons and criminals and like drug addicts. Your life is a lot smoother. Like when I hang out with people, like the kid that I like got wasted with, I relapsed with, like me and him were often ripping, and we did things that I like boosting and stealing and all this stuff when we were together. And it's like I wouldn't do that today, but back then you're like being chased by cops, and that's just normal because you're like, I'm getting what I need right now. I don't care if they're following. Yeah,
I'd never met anybody who'd even been to court, let alone anybody who'd been to jail. And before world. Suddenly I was mixing with like literally hitmen when I was working at people who've been in jail all the time. I ended up going to jail for 12 hours. I ended up being in court many, many times. I used to have to report to a police station 3 times a week to make sure that I wasn't like fleeing the state. So, and I come from a
probation
very,
officer, like something like that?
no, it was while I was still, because they used to adjourn they ended up dropping the charges on the motor vehicle because I didn't steal it, like because I kept going to court, and they kept adjourning it. And then one time when I was supposed to be in court for yet another adjournment, I had a migraine from hell. I couldn't get out of bed. And so I didn't go to court that day. So then I had warrants out because I hadn't showed up for court. And then I finally got pulled over I didn't even get pulled over. I was pulled over trying to find a gas station for a friend's car, and the one that my maps told me to go to was closed because it was almost midnight. So I pulled into there to check. So I wasn't driving on my phone, so I could check. And the cops saw me with the lights off and thought, that's sus. She's pulled into a service station, a gas station, for no reason. Came and did a license check, and then I got arrested and taken off. And after that, I had to show up in court the next morning. They take your bra, they take your shoelaces, they take
the wires.
Yeah.
It's like going to a loony bin. Yeah,
exactly. And then I had to report 3 times a week to a police station to make sure that I was on target. Actually, funny about my teeth, when I did in jail, they check all the orifices. Lovely. And she would check my teeth, and she looked at my teeth and she goes, "Are these all your teeth? Are these real?" I'm like, she goes, "Oh my God." I'm like, I feel like saying, "See, I don't belong here." I'm like,
right. You're like, I have all of them. Check them out. They're white. Yeah. So, but I honestly, as illegal as shit that I have done, I would never make it in jail. Not a single day. I am not jail material. Not even a little bit. So.
The thing that it was only 12 hours, but the thing that I found the most hard was not knowing what the time was. It was so bad. I could, like, the dehumanization, all of it was, I could kind of deal with. Like, it was quite surreal. But the not knowing what the time is, because I'm like a clock person. I have time blindness as part of my neurodivergence. So I have to, I get so hyper focused in things, and suddenly the time catches up with me. There's times when I think, I look at the clock and I'm like, okay, it's 11 o'clock. And then I do things. Obviously, I know what I'm doing. And I look at the clock again, expecting it to be like, what, 11:15. And I've done, like, it'll be like 4:15. I'm like, what? How? Right. So it's a lifelong struggle for me. So I have clocks everywhere. But being in jail, not knowing what the time was, and having that, all the control, zero control, that was enough.
That's hard. That's so hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
So what do we got here? AA didn't work for me. Gio says, AA didn't work for me. Smart recovery is a better fit and has worked for 3
years. Gio. I mean, my journey is not going to be like yours. You just need to find, everybody needs to find a journey that's going to create a healthy lifestyle for you. And I'm glad that worked for you. That's amazing.
Are you familiar with that? Is SMART?
Yeah, I do. I know what it is. It actually is offered where I attend therapy, and I've done what I've done for the past 7 years, and it's worked so far. So, God willing.
Absolutely, yeah. For me, my line, I'm very much, when I decide I'm not going to do something anymore, whether it's a person or a job or a whatever, a bad habit, a drug, I basically just go, boom, no. And it's just purely, I just have to. I'm a don't look back kind of person. So don't fuck with me, because if you fuck me over, you will find out that you are gone.
Same.
Not you personally. I mean, folks. So for me, the big thing, and I mentioned it before, that my sobriety is mostly based on finances. I just can't afford to do it. And so honestly, if I'm being honest, if I suddenly came into a huge sum of money and or an income that was exponentially higher than what it is now, I guarantee you I would go back there. So I consider myself to always be an addict, because I know that's a very always. But also I embrace it. Like, my hotspot password on my phone is meth till death. Like, if anyone needs my hotspot, I'm like, hang on, Do I know you well enough?
Okay.
Yes. Here, let me type it in for you.
Right. I mean, I still have like addict tendencies. I do things addictively. You know, I think, and the thing is too is like, is there a difference between like regular thinking and addict thinking? There is, and sometimes I can catch it. Other times I can't. Hey, work in progress every day, right?
Like what?
I
Have you got
never
an
surrender.
do you have an example?
Uh,
Do you have an
what do you
example
mean?
of what you class as addict
Oh,
thinking?
like I kind of like I'm a little OCD about like cleaning and where things are, and or I will addictively if I'm on crossword puzzles, I will do like 18 books of crossword puzzles at a time. You know what I mean? And it could be ADHD that I hyper focus on things. I want to do things at night. Like my mother, since I was like a little girl, and she'd be like, "You always want to do stuff at night." But that's like even now to this day, I'll put my son to bed, and that's when I like get stuff done, and I can be creative and productive. That's how my neurodivergence works, I suppose. And whatever works for you, that's right.
Yeah, I think that's a very common theme in people with ADHD and or neurodivergent people is that our best hours often tend to be those late night hours. I think as someone who's got responsibilities too, like you do with a young child, or if you're a person who works full time like me, or any of the above, if you basically got obligations through the day that you are happy to do, but you have to do them,
You have to do
that
them.
finally get some time. I think I can't remember what it's called, but it's actually a phenomenon where you kind of almost rebelling against the fact that you need to go to sleep because you want to get some time for yourself, even if it's
Yeah,
such a detriment of sleep schedule.
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. I that's one thing. So I do work full time. I got my career back, and I am a single mom. So I just turned 4, and so our life is super full, and I have purpose in him, and I have a job. My boss that like loves me. I have a place to live that I pay my rent, and like my property manager loves me for like the first time in my life. It's all about like calming down and not thinking about myself and thinking about like the welfare of my child that keeps me going. I had him later in life too, and I think that made a difference because if I was like young and still back the person that I was, I don't think that I would have been able to be the mom I am today. Which I'm super, super grateful for. And I'm grateful that I recovered. I am recovering, I should say. No one's ever really recovered. But you just do it day to day and you just like keep plugging, right?
Absolutely.
I love
I
everybody in this chat. I recognize every single name and I love you all.
Yeah,
I love
just
them.
an amazing community. It's so interesting. I mean, in the true crimey, Karen Reedy, that world, that genre in the chat, it's not often that this stuff comes up. So we're all kindred spirits on other sort of levels, but it's quite incredible to have these conversations and see all the same people, a lot of the same people,
Yes,
here in the chat relating about this and being.
right.
It's just solidifying that sense of community, and I think I feel so honored and blessed and humbled to have
Yeah,
that opportunity to facilitate that. It's really amazing.
absolutely.
Do you think that I know obviously there are people who are lifelong active addicts who are in addiction and never find that maturity or that focus or that purpose. Do you think that aging for you has helped with that in conjunction with becoming a mother and those sorts of things?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that like I was ready again because you like being an addict, like you have to be ready to change your life around. Like it's everything has to change, in my opinion. This everything is just my opinion. Everything has to change, and I wanted to be healthy. I wanted to be better, and I had already had like 3 or 4 years of sobriety before I got pregnant too, and so I knew that I was ready to be a mother. Like before, maybe not, you know. And so that, and I think it's a conjunction of everyone in the community you have around you, right? Like if you have shit, you're gonna get shit. If you have good people, you're gonna have good vibes. And that's how I try to live. A lot of people like sitting in misery. I'm not that
Yeah,
person.
it's
I don't
familiar.
want it. It's familiar. Yeah, it's like a best friend. And that's the thing too, like losing drugs or alcohol, whatever, sex, men, food, whatever it is,
Yeah,
because it's all the same gambling. It's like losing your best friend,
absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
so you have to.
It's your identity.
It's your
It's your
yeah,
identity.
and like your family sees you that way, your friends see you that way, and so I have a hard time. I get very insecure when people who I knew back then see me now because I'm like they see me as that Amy that they knew, and I'm not that person. So it does make me a little uncomfortable there. I did see a question from Nick here. It said,
Yeah.
"How do I feel about addiction with my son? Is it nature over nurture?" Well, addiction runs on both my and his father's side. And I think that if he lives in a good environment, like he has, I'm sure he has the gene in order to like get that like first. You never know, right? I can't control it. The only thing I can control is the environment that he lives in. And I give him all the love that I can. And I protect him and I just do my part as a mother and I can't foresee if he's gonna end up like me or not. Like I have 5 siblings, and not all of us are alcoholics. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like my brother is like too super straight edge and like really successful, and then there's like I'm successful now, but at the time
Uh,
I wasn't. I was kind of
it,
a lost
it is
soul.
it is possible to break generational trauma and cycles, and absolutely, and I guess with all the heightened awareness and understanding of things like genetic alcoholism or tendencies towards addiction, you can obviously you can't change that genetic factor, but you can absolutely do your best to create that nurturing, supportive, informed environment.
So too.
So that, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, letting him know too when he gets older, like, hey, be careful,
yes.
Yeah.
And recognizing perhaps in him, if they come along, like precursor sort of signposts that maybe he's given what you've lived through and your awareness and understanding of things, that you might be able to sort of steer him gently in other ways, or in other coping mechanisms
Yeah,
before it gets there.
right. I agree. And I think it's like not hiding who you are. Like, I have a nephew that's 14. That's like I love him to death. And I don't get into like war stories or anything like that, but I will talk with him about like, you just don't want to do that. You just go the other way, be the athlete, because that's what he is. And he just got into high school. So hopefully he'll go on the right path. But we don't know. Everyone's different. Everyone, you can't foresee how your children are gonna. Because when your baby pops out and you hold them for the first time, you don't think like you're gonna be an addict in 15 years and run off on me. Parents just don't think those things.
I think I'm adopted, and my birth parents are very different to me. They're extreme narcissists, and I'm an extreme empath. And when I was at the height of I was working in. Actually, I wasn't at the height of my height of my addiction was after my parents and all of my family and everyone turned their back on me completely, because they were told by my son's father that I was a sex worker and a drug user, and they abandoned me based on assumptions,
Yeah,
stigma, misinformation,
they're not
judgment.
informed. Judgment.
Not
Yeah,
informed. And my parents are highly educated. My father is a medical health professional. My mother is an educator. So it was, and they've never come back. So when you were saying before, when you see people in the street who were from that former life, and you
yeah,
understand they still see you in that framework, in that with those lens. My parents will never see me any differently as the prostitute, drug addict who just wanted to party and didn't give a fuck. And nothing could be further from the truth. So I've sort of come through all of my stuff
that's
without
their
any.
loss. Seriously, that's
Yeah,
their loss. So
yeah.
I'll admit, like I have immediate family members that don't have anything to do with me. They have no desire to be in my life, and today I'm okay with that because
Yes.
I know, like I'm strong enough to know that like I fixed what was wrong, and if you don't want to be a part of my life, then good riddance. you know, I mean, I'll love them from afar and sure, but some people are just so narrow-minded and can't see the bigger picture. And they're
Well,
missing
that's
out on you because you're amazing.
well, that's the really the core impetus for this whole Let's Talk series. It was the vision of my of my podcast before it came a YouTube channel, was basically to talk about all the things that I've lived through, experienced, put myself in, whatever it may be, that are all so highly stigmatized, to start the conversations, and quite frankly, to stick it to all those people in my life who literally, when I was at my lowest and then even lower, turned away, wouldn't even engage. They just shut everything down and shut me out. And like, if they ever see any of this, good. Don't come back. Though don't come back. Like, I don't want them. The people who are my family and my friends and my support are the people here in this chat today. And I know there'll be lifelong friends, people like you, my beautiful moderated team, and all the people that I see in all the chats. They're my people, and I don't care that I have actual family, because they proved that they weren't family, because they judged and they turned their back. So I think that's really important. If anyone in your family is behaving in a way that it seems alienating, distressing, foreign, self-destructive to you,
Don't hurt your own feelings with those people. Let them go. Let them go, because you are worth it. You're loved. And sometimes the best family are the family that you choose. Like, I sent this link out to my friend that, oh, thanks, dude. To my friends that I'm, they're sober and I know them and everything. And it's like, those are my chosen family. I have, like I said, I have a immediate family that does not speak to me whatsoever. And then I have the ones that like truly do love me. I have a big family, big Irish Catholics. But chosen family, there's something special about that. And they hold them so close to the heart. Like, I've met so many great people just from the Karen Reed. That God don't give me Karen Reed, but that, from Karen Reed, that like are really good friends and really good people, and I cherish that more than I would, the people who treat you like shit. Let them go. Let them go. Let them have their grudges. Let them just change and get better for you and whatever your purpose is.
But I think also, as somebody who, if you're witnessing a loved one, perhaps looking at me where I was in my life, the damage that it did to me, that they didn't choose to open their minds and ask me some questions and stick around, like, that took a lot of time to come to terms with and accept, and I can't turn back time, I can't change. So it's really important. Like, obviously there comes a time where if there's self-destructive behavior, but I wasn't I was very much a functioning, at that point particularly, I was functioning, all my bills were paid, my children had a roof over their heads. That's why I was in the work doing. And so it's important to remember that whatever framework you're looking at the loved one who's perhaps struggling, that if you can, if they're not stealing from you, if they're not risking your personal safety and their and your life, to stick with them if you can, because that makes such a difference to someone who's struggling with addiction or lifestyle choices, or maybe not choices, if they're in a lifestyle that you are like, no, I can't with this isn't how they should be. See if you even check in with them occasionally, if you can't have them in your life all the time, to check in on them. So yeah, I think that's really important. But obviously you have to balance your own, like how you said, with people in your life, and me too. Like, if they're toxic and they're actually making you feel worse.
This is the thing too, like, people like us, like, no one could ever say anything to me that I haven't felt about myself or worse. And so going at an addict that already feels like they're like scum on the earth and they feel horrible about themselves, like, attacking them is probably not going to help. You know what I mean? I wouldn't give them money and like enable it that way, but like, addicts need to feel loved, because I guarantee you they do not love themselves. No one who loves themselves would self-destruct.
Amen.
So love them.
Yeah. Love them, and have a little bit of grace in your heart for them. Because,
Amen.
Yeah. Jess mentioned before, I do have a live stream coming up, and it was supposed to be. I just no, not to. We're still got time. But I just wanted to mention it was supposed to be a members only live stream, and then YouTube must think that it should be for everybody because it won't let me change the listing to be members only. So it's for everybody. So if you want to stick around for some ask me anything and hectic, funny sex work stories and just a general glimpse into that world further, come along. I am going to try to change the stream after it is finished to be members only. But if not, that's okay. It's nothing I wouldn't say in public anyway. I just thought maybe the secret tales from the crypt were something that maybe members mostly deserve. But you know what? Let's just say
I'll be in there. Yeah. I love it.
So in the chat, has anybody got any questions for Amy? Any advice, anything they would like to ask? Just pop it in the chat and I'll pull them up on screen so that we can oh, look, here's a beautiful theme from Christine K. Fan. Hi, ladies. I've been listening while driving. You're both amazing. Thank you. What does Tiff Knox says? That's why self-esteem is so important to instill in the people you love.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agree. Self-esteem is important. I'll tell you what, that's why women and men are a little different. Women are more likely to have no self-esteem and put themselves in a situation that are dire.
Since time began, right? Like it's a misogyny thing that is intertwined into humankind since the beginning of time. I think it's in the DNA. It's to never quite be, and society wise, it's gotten worse, I think. Ducati girl, no, I don't know Rachel Watson. Do you know who that is?
I do not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Okay. Amy, when did you realize habit had become addiction?
I was like 16. I woke up every day to find something every single day. And I was drinking at school and I was failing at school. I was like, I have friends that like I pushed away and did nasty things to them when I was drinking and drugging. Like that mean the world to me, and me and her reconnected. She's my oldest friend. She was actually here for my son's birthday the other day. And I'm lucky that she, wanted to be my friend still after a couple of years. But I was very young when I knew I had an issue.
I think for me, I didn't ever really identify that I was an addictive type until quite late in life. But even like I have a trigger warning. I have a history in eating disorders, bulimia, anorexia. And I was like, even that, it's a control thing. It's thinking that you have control over something, but actually what happens is you lose all control and the addiction, whatever it is, takes over. What does Megan say?
Especially
no
eating disorders are definitely a control thing,
Yeah, absolutely. So is drugs, but drugs takes over very quickly. Any substance.
It does. It's just
there's no control there. Megan,
I never got the people who were at like parties and they were like picked like 2 lines and they're like, I'm good. I'm like, what a waste. Get out of here.
Give it all to
Go
me.
get out of the bathroom. Yeah, exactly. You don't belong here.
Thank you, Miss Ruthie. I love you all. You are honestly my family and friends. We spend so much time together, right?
Yes, absolutely. I love all of you. I get so excited when I see all the names.
Chat is Bay. We are chat. Chat is Bay.
Absolutely.
I don't think I've got any more questions. No questions. Thanks, Kimberlina.
Kimberlina.
You got anything you want to say to finish off with, Amy? Is there any advice you have for anybody out there? Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. If you are struggling with addiction, there is help. And there are people out there willing to help you that went through the exact same thing that you are going through currently. If you're a parent of a substance abuse user or a substance abuse addict, go find an Al-Anon meeting and meet other parents like yourself to figure out where your boundaries are and to get maybe your kid help. But it's all about support. Like we have a community here that we love in our chat and we're all like so excited to see each other and be with each other. That's how support systems or support groups work for people that have kids in active addiction. And it's so rampant right now. And I hope all of your kids or your loved ones get help, because I came from nothing and my life is so beautiful today. And I love my life and my friends, and I love being a mom today. Um, yeah, I just wish everyone health and getting everyone better.
Yeah. And we're
Reach
all
out to
human.
somebody. Everyone knows an addict. Everyone knows a recovering addict. Find out what they did and do it.
Yeah. I mean, we're all human. So be kind to yourself and give
Yeah.
yourself some grace too, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all doing the best we can. Just do some work. For me, the final thought would be when you feel ready, it's so important to not just try to quit because of whatever the addiction is. You're probably going to need to replace it with something else, but also do some self. Yes.
Double fist if you need to.
Double like I do. I could carry. These are like my anxiety um
That's
fidget
cute.
toys.
Right.
But do the work. Like do
Do the
spend some
work.
time um thinking about things. Don't like it's going to be hard, it's going to be painful, but unless you come to terms with whatever it is in your past or your present or your mind or your psyche or
Yeah.
yourself, how you feel about yourself, until you really face those demons. And it's awful, like it's hard doing that work,
It's hard
painful.
getting over the hump of
Really is.
the grossness, right? But you have to feel it to get over it. And
And you
it's
will
so
never.
freeing when you get over there and you're like, I'm okay. Because all
Yes.
of us can be okay. You have to heal spiritually, physically, and mentally. And it's like the trifecta, and you have to figure out what those things are and what's going to help you, and work
And the
on it every single day. It's not like something you do once and stop. It's something you do every single day.
Exactly. I did an intensive 5 years of like hardcore. I needed to do some work, right? Hardcore work. And then now I still like I feel like who I am now. I love myself. Like I never thought I'd say that. I used to loathe myself, but now I
Yeah.
love myself. I accept everything about myself. I mean, not always. There's times I'm like, fuck, Lisa, why you like this? Jesus. But generally, I love myself, but it's never done. Like I'm not thinking, okay, I'm good now. Like,
Right.
but I would not be where I am today in terms of how I feel about my world and my life, and what I'm able to do and achieve and project out to the world without having faced the demons front on, like done the disgusting in the trenches, hard, awful, painful truth. You
Yeah.
have to. You just
You
have
have
to.
to. You have to. And you know what too? You are such a beautiful soul, and you have brought so much to YouTube with your channel, and like your vibe is so good. And you should be proud of yourself for how far you've come. Seriously,
Thank
you
you.
have to give yourself like it's okay to be like, I'm proud of myself. Like I'm fucking proud of myself. If you knew
I
me
really,
10 years ago, you would be like, who's this girl, right?
yeah.
You gotta be proud of
I
yourself.
before I actually couldn't even foresee a future for me. There was nothing. I couldn't see anything. It was not even in a suicide ideation's point of view, but I just couldn't see anything. And now, like, not only can I see a future, but I'm living and steering the ship into that future, and it's just the most amazing thing. I
It's
do feel proud
so
of
good.
that.
It's so nice to watch. Yeah.
I couldn't do it without any of you guys either, because the way I feel about myself is because of the energy that I put out is being reciprocated by like-minded people who I vibe with around the world. It's just a blessing. It's so
It's
good.
amazing. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Are those vapes nicotine? Fuck yeah, mate.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
you kidding?
Just no tobacco. Just no tobacco.
Mine's
I
nicotine.
need
Mine's
something.
flavor nicotine. So I
It's like
didn't
a
start vape.
pacifier.
Well, and you can put these are like rechargeable ones, so you can like
Oh,
can
see,
charge
I
it.
have like one on the charger over there, and then this one. So when this one goes down, I just put some
See, we're still addicted.
addict behavior. Yeah.
You've got to have a vice, right? All right, Amy. Well, thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much
I
for
might
having me.
Thank you so much. I will see you in the next chat.
Yes.
And thank you,
Bye.
darling girl. Bye, everyone. Oh, no, I'm still here. Hey, shorties. Thank you. It's a journey for sure. Yes, Amy is just the most beautiful thing, isn't she? Thank you so much, Amy, for sharing your story, being so frank and open and honest and kind and generous with your time. She's a busy woman, obviously. So I really appreciate her being here and all of you being here. So thank you. Shall we just go through a few housekeeping things? Megan Easton, thank you for becoming a member. really appreciate you. We did go through these during the live. But Sarah and Shogun Horror, you're such a beautiful friend. Thank you so much for your always encouragement, always support. You're always cheerleading for me and giving me advice and listening to my audio message rants in the middle of the night. Oh, couldn't do it without you, girlfriend. Thank you so much. Megan Easton, thank you. All the love flowing both ways. Thank you, everybody. So I will end this stream, and I will head to the loo, brush my hair, have some hectic vapes. So the next stream is going to be a bit of an ask me anything. If you're around, I don't know how long we'll go. I'm like full disclosure, you know me, I'll say it. If you ask, I'll say it. So if you want to know anything at all about anything, ask me anything. I used to be a competitive bodybuilder. I'm a personal trainer, group fitness instructor, Macca's manager, sex worker, drug addict, junkie, homeless person, widow, adopted. I lived through a pretty hectic earthquake in Newcastle in 1989. What else? Like felon. Ask me anything. But thank you so much, Brian. That's okay. You can watch it on the replay. Replay crew rocks. Replay crew is bae. Chat is bae. Replay crew is bae. Christine, yeah, I actually did start a book, and then my ADHD fucked me, and I was like, paralysis, pathological demand avoidance took over. And I had a whole lot of drama in my life. This is my book. I'm putting out a video book where we're documenting it all here in bright color. So if you could please drop a comment in the comment box after the stream is ended. It really helps get the stream out to the algorithm with YouTube. That would be amazing. Hit the like, share it if you know of anybody in your life who might benefit from, or even if you don't realize, if you do know someone who's in active addiction or struggling with addiction, share this stream because it's important stuff. And YouTube doesn't love promoting this kind of content, so it's up to us to sort of actively put it out there into the algorithm. So I appreciate you. I love you. Thank you so much, Shorties. You're an amazing chat. You're an amazing community, and I will see you in like 5 minutes. Mwah. Love you. Bye.